Hey there, it's BoardGameDave. Today we're taking a look at Splendor Duel, the two-player only standalone sequel to Splendor, designed by Marc-Andre and Bruno Katawa. You might not know this, but Splendor is by far the most played game in my collection, boasting an impressive 140 plus plays, so it was kind of a no-brainer that I would pick up Splendor Duel the first chance I got. Well, now I finally have it. I've had a chance to play it with Hannah, and I've really been enjoying this game. So today we're going to take a look at the differences between Splendor Duel and Splendor, and I'll give you my first impressions on this little game. Now, obviously, Splendor Duel is a two-player only game, but beyond that, there are four big differences between Splendor Duel and Splendor. And the first one is how you take gems. So in this game, you don't just take gems from the supply, you're dealing with this very intriguing, spiraling 5x5 grid. And these are all of the gems in the game, 25 total. And when you take gems, you're gonna take up to 3 adjacent touching gems. So I could do 3 diagonal like this, I could take 3 down like this, I could take 2 across like this, so on and so forth. And I do say 3 or up to 3 because you can't take any gold. So I couldn't take these 3, for example, right? You have to work around these golds here. And also if there's an empty spot like here, right? You can't skip around it. I can't go 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, okay? So up to 3, and you're gonna take them diagonally or orthogonally. So maybe I would do something like this. So that's one big change already. Second are these privilege tokens. Sometimes you'll do something in this game or your opponent will do something that'll get you one of these privilege tokens. And before your main action on your turn, you can actually spend one of these privilege tokens to take any gem on this board that's not a gold. So I could use that to take one of these pearls. And if I had 3 of these, I could spend all 3 to take 1, 2, 3 gems and add them to my supply, like so. Third, the cards themselves are different. First of all, the arrangement obviously has changed. We've got 5 level 1s, 4 level 2s, and 3 level 3s. But beyond that, a lot of these cards have a special ability that's triggered as soon as you add it to your tableau. For example, this card lets you take a non-gold gem from your opponent, lets you steal one. That's so awesome, okay? This one lets you claim one of those privilege tokens, again, that lets you take a gem from the supply before your main action. This card basically acts as any wild card. So you can add this to any card that you already have and it counts as that color discount for future purchases. That's really cool. And finally, this card right here, right? This ability gives you 1 of that gem. So when I buy this card, add it to my tableau, I get a white gem from the tableau or from the supply over here. Those are really cool abilities and it changes this game up a whole lot. And there's some other things in there too, like crowns, and there's also cards that count as double the gem, which are really cool as well. I think I have them here in the level 2 supply. There you go. So a card like that obviously would count as 2 green gems toward future card purchases. And finally, there are the end game scoring conditions, which you can see on this reference board right here. So the game ends immediately. There's no finishing the round. As soon as a player completes one of these 3 goals, the game is instantly over and that player wins. So getting 20 points anywhere in your tableau wins you the game. Having 10 or more crowns in your tableau also wins you the game, and having 10 or more points in one single column like so would also win you the game. So as soon as a player triggers one of those 3 winning conditions, the game ends, they win. And those are the biggest differences between Splendor Duel and the original Splendor. Now let's go through my 7 criteria scoring system to give Splendor Duel a final rating. First, let's look at the art and components. Now it is worth pointing out, by the way, that they changed the art style a lot between Splendor and Splendor Duel. So here's some of the original art in Splendor. It's very realistic looking. You got these elephants here and this very realistic looking man. They kind of went for more of like a comic book sort of art style with Splendor Duel, and honestly I wasn't a huge fan of it at first, but I'll tell you what, it's growing on me. I actually really like this art style. I think it works really well with the game. Component wise, pretty much compares to Splendor. You've got these nice quality cards. You've got these great, semi kind of small, but still weighty little poker chip looking things that work as the gem components. You've got these great privilege tokens, so that's new. Of course, the boards are nice and thick. And one big other plus is that we've got this very small compact box, which I really appreciate. So art and components are really great. They're not phenomenal, but they're really, really good. I give it a 9 out of 10. Second is complexity versus audience. Now, this game is still an approachable family way game, but it actually is a little bit more complex than the original Splendor. I do wonder if some people who are big fans of Splendor will get this game and be a little bit, not overwhelmed, but maybe just thrown off a bit by the added complexity to the game. So I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10 for complexity versus the audience. Third is thematic integration. Now, I gave the original Splendor a 3.5 out of 10 for this because when you're getting these cards, right, the level 1 cards, you're extracting the gems, level 2, you're transporting the gems and you're refining the gems like so, and then in level 3, you are selling the gems at your storefront or whatever. That really made no sense thematically, like why you're paying gems to extract gems or transport them. The theme was kind of all over the place, but with Splendor Duel, I will say that they've really done a much better job of kind of like making the gems tie in with the theme. So, for example, right, if I pay the right gems, right, 3 green gems, I can make this blue, but even still, I'm making a crown, right? I'm making earrings, I'm making a sword hilt, I'm making a diamond, I'm encrusting jewels around this crown and making brooches. You know, that is much more thematic. I'm spending gems to make beautiful jewelry to impress the nobility and score lots of prestige. Like, that is much more thematic than whatever you were doing in Splendor. So I'll give this a 7.5 out of 10 for thematic integration. Fourth is intuitive mechanics. Now, I did say that there's a little bit more complexity in this game, and I will say there's a few, not fiddly, but hard to remember rules you need to keep track of, like when you pass the privileges around, what some of these special abilities do. So it's not quite as intuitive as Splendor was, but you know, that added complexity gives you more value in gameplay, so it's a good thing, but just not quite as intuitive. I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for intuitive mechanics. Fifth is replayability. And again, I think that Splendor Duel has more to offer here than the original Splendor. There's so much more going on in this game. Of course, first you've got this fascinating little mini game here of pulling pieces from this puzzle. I love that dynamic market there of what gems you can take. That's super cool. I love the special abilities on these cards. You've got the crowns, you've got the double gem cards, you've got ones that let you steal and get privileges and all those different things. That's much more dynamic. I love especially the various win conditions. Games that have multiple ways to victory are really, really great for replayability. So you can pursue different strategies. So the first time you play, maybe you'll try just getting 20 points. And then maybe the second time you'll go crown strategy. And then maybe the third time you'll go straight up and down those columns. Multiple paths to victory, or 3 paths to victory specifically, is, I think, borrowed from another game Bruno Catala worked on, Seven Wonders Duel. So I love it. Much more replayable, I think, than the base game. In my opinion, there's so much more to do, so much more to explore. I give it an 8.5 out of 10 for replayability. Sixth is length and fun factor. Now, Hannah and I average about 40 minutes per game of Splendor Duel, which might seem a little long for a small 2-player card game, but I will say that as the game progresses, right, and you're watching you and your opponent get closer and closer to each of those 3 scoring or endgame triggering criteria, that tension is so delicious because you know you're a few turns away from getting it, and they're really close, and you know, maybe they're going for the crowns, but they've also got a column with 9 points, and they've got all these different ways to, you know, pull off that victory. So it's a little bit on the longer side, but the tension's definitely there. I love it. I give it a 9 out of 10 for length and fun factor. And finally, cost versus value. Now, this small game is going for about $30 right now, or at least that's how much I paid for it. And honestly, that seems a little bit high. I mean, you know, it's just some cards and these small little tokens, a few boards, these privilege tokens right here, and a bag, and that's pretty much it. So it seems a little high component wise, but again, this is such a hyped game, and you know, 2 big name designers. Of course, Splendor Duel is riding on the pedigree of Splendor, which was a huge hit. So I think that's part of why the price is what it is. So price a little bit high, $30. I think maybe it'd be, you know, should be more like $20, but you know, it's a great game. I think it's worth your money, but it is a bit pricey. So we'll give it a 9 out of 10 for cost versus value. And there you have it. All in all, Splendor Duel gets a final score of 8.79 out of 10. We'll go ahead and round it up to a 9 out of 10 for this great game. It's small, it's portable, it's super fun, it's easy to teach. Splendor Duel is a great game for my collection. I can't wait to teach more people and play it a lot more. There's so much goodness in this little box. If you're interested in my Splendor review, you can check that out right here. Let me know your thoughts on Splendor Duel. Have you played it? Are you interested at all? Let me know in the comments down below. And in the meantime, of course, have a wonderful week. Take care and happy gaming. Bye. This one right here gives you... In the meantime, of course, have a wonderful week. I don't like it. It's fun to teach. It's easy to learn. This is fun to teach. It's not fun to teach.